then, and I was always painfully shy and I put off the speech. Well, last semester I took an abnormal psychology class, and they assigned me the topic of sexual dysfunction that I had to give in front of 50 college students. And I felt that if I could do that, everything was downhill from there. It was time to take this class. This is on misidentification. Imagine you are sitting in a jail cell on death row waiting for your execution. You know that you are innocent, but you have been found guilty. To date, 245 people in the United States have been exonerated of their convictions. There can be several causes for wrongful convictions, such as false confessions, improper forensic science, and eyewitness identification. 75% of the 245 convictions overturned were due to eyewitness misidentification, making it the leading cause. The 245 exonerations were won in 34 different states. 17 of them were persons on death row that were actually waiting for execution. 70% of those exonerated were from minority groups, which later in the presentation you'll see why that's significant. The average time served by wrongfully convicted individuals before their convictions were overturned was 12 years. They had served 12 years. 28 states and the federal government now have laws requiring financial compensation to those individuals wrongfully imprisoned. So not every state compensates these individuals. In 1999, the United States Department of Justice issued guidelines called Eyewitness Evidence Guidelines to improve eyewitness accuracy. But to date, only 5 states have changed the procedures that they do. West Virginia has had 6 convictions overturned. 5 of those 6 convictions have been due to eyewitness misidentification. Several factors can impact the accuracy of identification, such as race, line of procedures, weapon focus effect, personality of the witness, and stress. We're going to go further into these to explain these a little bit further. Race is the first one. Studies have shown high rates of own race bias, which means that we tend to recognize facial features of our own race more than we do those of others. So we're more likely to misidentify somebody of another race than we are of our own. Lineup procedures. It's been proven that eyewitnesses are more accurate when shown one mugshot at a time rather than a whole group lineup, because we tend to use a process of elimination. We will compare them against each other instead of, if we're presented one mugshot at a time, we can look at that and actually compare each one with our actual memory. I found it interesting that whenever you use a group lineup, if the actual perpetrator is not in the lineup, we tend to choose the person that most closely resembles the actual subject. There are several things that we could do to reduce this. Whenever the lineup administrator should never know who the actual subject is. It should always be a third party, because they can sometimes influence them with verbal and nonverbal cues as to who they feel that the real subject is. They should always advise the witness that the real perpetrator could or could not be present in the actual lineup. And they should also offer no feedback like, that's the one that we thought it was, or you did a good job, you're spot on. Some actual law enforcements are actually moving to automated computerized lineups to totally take that factor out, the human factor out. The next issue is weapon focus. Gary Wells, a renowned researcher in eyewitness identification. He's been doing research on this misidentification for 30 years. He's shown that eyewitnesses are less accurate when there's a weapon involved actually in the crime, because we tend to focus more on the weapon than we do on the face of the perpetrator themselves. It also makes a difference on the witness personality. There are some personalities that are more susceptible to suggestibility and manipulation. People pleasers are more likely to try to please the administrator. An example of this is if an administrator uses leading questions containing misinformation, the eyewitness may supplant their actual account to coincide with the misinformation. For instance, if an administrator were to ask what kind of mustache does the individual have, instead of did the individual have a mustache, did the subject have a mustache? The eyewitness may then develop a false memory of a mustache that never existed in the first place. Another example of this, they did an experiment where they had a group of people witness a tape of a car crash. They divided the group into two different groups and gave them the same questions except for one question. The first question was asked when the cars were, before the cars crashed, how fast were they going? And the other one said, before the cars bumped, how fast were the cars going? The group that had the bumped question said that it was 20 miles an hour, where the group that had the crashed question said it was 40 miles an hour. So we're influenced even though that we're not aware that this is happening. Stress is also something we need to take into account. It makes a difference whether or not the crime actually has happened to us or we're witnessing it, and also whether or not we feel that it's serious, how serious it is. We will be able to relate the account more accurately if it's something that we feel that's more serious. In closing, the legal community could not function without the use of eyewitness identification. Some variables cannot be controlled, such as personality of the witness or a race bias. However, we should be aware that these are contributing factors. Having said that, we must make sure that laws are put in place, be uniform, and complied with to eliminate the factors that can result in misidentification, such as lineup administrators, composition of lineup, feedback, and instruction. And finally, jurors should be educated as to the limited accuracy of identification due to human error. You may think that this doesn't affect you or your loved ones, but I don't know if you guys realize that in some states they're actually taking the DMV databases and they're using those in lineups, so you may be in a lineup that you're not even aware of. The state of Texas is currently investigating the case of Cameron Todd Williams, who they feel now that they may have wrongly executed him in 2004. And I just feel that one person falsely executed is one person too many. If you would like more information on this subject, please visit www.innocenceproject.org or www.iowastate.edu.